Hello everybody, so welcome to my episode 2 of my bassoon channel here, and in this video we're going to talk about all the types of bassoon here. And we know that bassoon has quite a large family here, and it usually includes like excluding the experimental bassoons that were produced like recent years here. So it includes usually the Contrabassoon, the standard modern bassoon, the French bassoon, the Baroque bassoon, the classical bassoon, and the Contra Forte, which was invented in 2001 there. So now let's review about the standard modern bassoon here. So here I got 3 bassoons. One is the Baroque bassoon, the other one is the French system, which is the French bassoon using the buffet system. This one is using buffet. And then we have the German bassoon here. So as we can see here, if we have a detail of them here, the French bassoon is likely have much more keys, and the layout is simply just different to the German bassoon here. So this and this. So we compare the boots of the bassoon here. Then we can see that the French bassoon does not have any pancake keys or those keys of them here. So there's just one hole and one key, and some more keys at the back of them here. So, by the way, let's review about how bassoon actually makes their own vibrations, and talking about just adding a little bit of the things that we haven't talked about in our first episode here. So, actually, bassoon just make themselves by bending the wood here with a U-turn there. That's why sometimes we call it a bundle of sticks, which means fagot there. So we can see that the air goes through here. And for the keys that we press, there will be the holes letting air out, or holes that covered to let air in here. So it goes out all the way through this hole there. And then there are some type of bassoons nowadays that they are called the gentleman's type here. So what do you mean by gentleman, you might ask? So because nowadays, the bassoon cases is just like this kind of cases, but we can actually get it up into this very rectangular kind of case there. Like some of these cases would like to be carried by a quote-unquote gentleman there. So that will be that it's just going to split here. The gentleman's tie is going to split there. See how there's a metal one, the ring of the metal here, of the bell? And usually it's just going to split where the whisper key actually goes. So mine was split here, but we can actually have it split there. So if I get it out there, you can see that this one is split here, but usually the gentleman's type will just split in which the whisper key is attached to it there, in which it covers the whole of the crook there. So it's split there. In order for that, you're going to lay perfectly in this rectangular case that's going to carry by a quote-unquote gentleman. So it'd be like a gentleman's suitcase there. So that's why we call it a gentleman's type. And there are still of these gentleman's type produced there. And now we can see that at the right hand, at the very left-hand side here, we have a Baroque bassoon, which only has 5 keys in total. Here's 1, 2, 3, and then the back of the boot for 5. These 5 keys, bronze keys, are all that takes up to make up the Baroque bassoon there. So as we can see here, this time is when the Baroque bassoon has a very big and change from where the place it should be. So the Baroque bassoon started off as some villages here, was as some ensembles, but it started to become from outdoors to indoors, in which it came to the palace there. So we can start to see elaborate designs there, like the crown, and resembles the palace. But it's starting to get inside, not outside. But as low register still resemble the kind of folk tunes, like the two accompanying your folk dances. But from the middle to high register, it started to become indoors and become very fashionable these days at that time there in the palace. So for the royal families there, so it became from the inside to the outside there. And also at the Baroque bassoon, there's still kind of a bug or a problem there. Before the major invention, there was still, you need to shade over the holes in order to get the right intonation, because as we can see, one hole is like this, Like say for example, you want to press these 1, 2, 3 holes, but if they are make a copy that is almost in tune, but if you play on the original instrument, it's going to be out of tune there. So the way to actually tune them is actually like quote unquote tune them is to by making sure that you only cover one part of the hole there instead of all of the hole. So you cover only that part. So it's become a very kind of problem here. That's why if we go up to a classical one. Classical bassoon that is going to have much more keys to stabilize the intonation, or do they have keys that will open the holes, just like the modern bassoon. To open the keys will open the holes of the bassoon much more and carve more holes for it there. Also, this was some kind of experimenting to know which holes are good for which notes and which holes should we carve in there. So much about the review of it here, and if we look at this last picture here, that's what a real performance bassoon looks like here, the German system. So the right hand actually has 9 keys here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 keys. And then some performers will actually customize their own bassoon, so there's not an exact key that the song will play there. Now, if we take this off, and let's go into today's topic, in which it is the contrabassoon there. So starting out with the contrabassoon, which is like an old cousin of the bassoon there, it's much more deeper and much more, almost 1 octave lower than it here. And also the contrabassoon also started off as the Baroque contrabassoon, and then all the way up to the Beethoven's time, which it is the classical contrabassoon there. So this is the Baroque ones there. That's what they played in the time of Handel and Bach there. Just a fun fact though, in the Museum Salzburg, in Salzburg there's the Salzburg Museum, there's one contrabassoon with a dragon's head here, which is by Johann Maria Anciotti there. And he made it approximately in 1732 there, approximately. So he has made a contrabassoon with a dragon's head there. And then we go up to this one there. And by the way, I saw that they have already attached something, a standard, to the contrabassoon because it's just way too large. It's not like today in which we fold the pipe, the tube into like some kind of like plumbing thing. So that you're going to have a floor plug in which we stand it up to the floor there. So that's what they actually attached to it there, the frame. And if we take the crook and reed out there, and here's the crook and reed. It's much more longer than this crook. But of course, you need a long crook to play it because of whatever. If you don't have the crook, then you can't reach the keys. And it's a very long stretch for the finger as well there. And likewise, the reeds are pretty long as well. They're already over 90 millimeters, much more longer than today's contrabassoon reeds here. And also, I assume that you also need a lot of air pressure to play this as well. So this one is 92 millimeters long. The reed here. So now we came to this instrument that he's holding there. So this instrument was made in England by Thomas Dansby Jr. here. But there's a rumor that he made 2, but in fact that he only made 1, which is this one. This bassoon. And this one, he made it in 1739 here. We can already say that it's already kind of like a Baroque contrabassoon there. If we look at it carefully there, I might see that there's also some keys here. The holes are played very right in which order of it there. So it will be a long stretch for the fingers there, and for playing a long time, it's going to be bad for like the bones here. It will be very sore there. And there's a very interesting thing on the London Daily Post and Journal Advisor on Monday the 6th August in 1739 there, in which Handel actually wrote it for the contrabassoon, the first time that he wrote it for the contrabassoon there, and then never heard before in his country there, and he used it for the royal fireworks. And he is tuned on the royal fireworks of the contrabassoon, in which he used the Baroque contrabassoon there. And after some more evolution there, we came to today's contrabassoon, like from all the way from the Baroque to classical. And for the classical, we have much more evolution, because the contrabassoon is always a very hard instrument to tune. And also, the contrabassoon at that time has not a lot of keys there. So we came to today's one here. So today it have evolved into this kind of like curly, this kind of thing. And they even have a picture of it there. So now let's talk about the contrabassoon here. So that's the great color of the bassoon here. And nowadays, the contrabassoon is this bendy one there. So it goes from the crook here, the same crook, and then it goes through this pipe, and the U-turn up, and finally it goes to the bell here. So this way is to the bell, and the flare of that there. So the sound goes from there. So a little bit like plumbing if you ask me. So this way it goes from there, there. So unlike the other one, like the Baroque contrabassoon, the Baroque contrabassoon basically you do like that and goes right up there. So it is just like one long bassoon but stretched out. So that's why we can see that it's insanely long, but not with the modern contrabassoon there. But the modern contrabassoon still has some problems, in which it led to the creation of the Contra Forte there. So contrabassoon has too much harmonics at the lower registers, and it also needs a peg stand, the foot stand here, the floor peg, so that it can be standing up at the floor there. It's too heavy to hold it there. And back to what I have said is that it has too many harmonics here. So because of the lowest note of the Contra Forte, of the contrabassoon there, of the contrabassoon is the C and C sharp there, we can't really know which one is which. So that if you're playing a C or C sharp, we can't really know because it's too much harmonics. And the finger of it, the intonation is much more better than the Baroque or classical contrabassoon there, because of course we have much more keys, and then we are refining it there. Also, it's easier to hold it there. So because of the harmonic thing of it there, and also it needs a lot of air pressure, it leads to the design of the Contra Forte there. So the Contra Forte was designed by two German music instrument inventors for instrument manufacturers here. The first one is Gustav Wolf, and then the second one is Benedict Epstein there. So these two German manufacturers here, which were highly gifted there. So in together they have made the Contra Forte here, which is like a little upgrade to the modern contrabassoon there. So this one shows like the whole thing, the key paths of the contrabassoon, of the Contra Forte, sorry. So it has already changed from contrabassoon, because now it is much more ergonomic and easier to be played on, rather than the contrabassoon, in which it has not a very large stretch other than the Baroque contrabassoon there. So now if you look at more photos of it here, this one is how we actually could play it there. Like we put our hands there, and then the thumb will control all of these keys, which is the keys over there. These keys will be sliding up or down there. And here's the vocal. So this vocal comes from there into there here, into this crook here. So this one is a whole thing, so our vocal crook there. And then it goes through this pipes all the way down, and it goes from the wooden pipes all the way down to the bell there. And this one is the bell here, so we can see the Wolf and Epstein there, called Benedict Epstein there. These two manufacturers will carve on the bell there, so finally the sound will go out through the bell. So this way it looks like how it looks like we're playing it there. And the highest of the Contra Forte can go up to the do on the treble clef there, like an octave higher than the middle C, which is almost one octave more than the normal contrabassoon or the modern contrabassoon there. And then this is how it looks like in real time there. If we lay them down, it's going to look like this. With its bell, the reed, and the keypads. And this one is like a little hand rest for the palm there, the right of the left hand there. And this one is also what it looks like, a larger picture of this here. We can see. And this is what we get back to with a handrest. It looks like this, with the left hand have the keys on there. So now we have talked about the Contra Forte and also the Contrabassoon there. It's time for a rare family of the bassoon family. It's not actually a bassoon anymore, but sometimes considered one. So it's like a rare instrument that is designed by Heckel, which is the great manufacturer of the bassoon there. So he designed that, and guess what he designed? He designed the Heckelphone here. So if you wipe this thing off, the Heckelphone. So this is what he designed, the Heckelphone here. And if you look at it, it is a little bit more like an oboe than a bassoon there. But it is also closely related to this family there. So if you take this off and put in the Heckelphone here, this is what the entire Heckelphone looks like. Seems like an oboe, right? Like a bass oboe. And it also needs a floor peg here so that we can put on the floor to actually play it there. So this one is the keys of it there. So the keys, this Heckelphone uses oboe fingering there. So that has the keypads and also the key rings here. And this Heckelphone is a little bit special because it does not only use keys, but it has the holes. Like you have to cover the ring and also the holes of them here in order to press a note. So it's pretty difficult, much more difficult for the people who has like narrower fingers there or thinner fingers there. So we get this off there. So this one is just one long piece all the way down there. So this one is one part of it in which we play with our right hand there. So this one is the upper piece right there. So this was the upper piece of the Heckelphone there, in which it has like a straight string there with all of the keys mechanism, also the little keys which has the levers on there as well. So now, as we can see here, if I pull out the book of the bassoon by James B. Cobb here, and we go to the smaller bassoon section there, then we could see that we have something called the octave bassoon here, which means octave bassoon, which is essentially a smaller size of the bassoon here. So we can see that this one from bottom here, the octave bassoon was made by Schuchheimer and the tenor bassoon there. Sometimes they are called the octave bassoon and sometimes they are called the tenor bassoon there. So these are just smaller and also much more higher pitch so that it can go higher than the bassoon. But if you have the right technique for bassoon, you can actually extend the range of the bassoon as well with some kind of harmonics. That's when we call the harmonics there as well. And except for the octave bassoon, we have some experimental bassoon like carbon fiber bassoon or anything that we want to experiment with. We can do that as well. And we have another thing called the tenor room here. So this tenor room is not any kind of instrument, it's just for like the things with smaller hands, like the performance will have like smaller hands will actually use the tenor room. The tenor room is much more shorter than the bassoon, but I still have the full keys of them here, but space much more narrower. So say for example the keys of the bassoon is like this. Then the tenor room will be like this. Which means a little bit much more smaller in the gap, which are just for the practicing model or for performers who have smaller hands here. And now that's all for episode 2, and now let's go to the read section of the episode 3.